number one biomarker that all longevity experts can agree upon is called the Omegaquant test. And this is part 3 of a 3-part series where we discuss the ins and outs and what have yous of the Omegaquant test, where there's 3 versions: the Omegaquant Basic, the Omegaquant Plus, and the Omegaquant Complex. And in this video, I want to discuss everything that there is to discuss in the Omegaquant Complex. So let's dig in. Hi, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen, and I am a health and longevity expert and coach. I help men and women that are looking for the fountain of youth to discover it in their own body so that they can be the best person that they can be. And in today's video, I want to discuss with you the Omegaquant Complex test. And one of the things that I failed to mention in the other videos is why I like this test so much is because it's a finger prick test. And that means you don't have to go to a lab. You can order the kit from anywhere in the world. We send it to all of the customers that request for it all over the world, and you could send it back. And all you need to do is just prick your finger with the lancet that they provide in the kit and send the test back and shortly get the results a couple weeks later. In the complex test, what I really like about this one is it shows all of the omega fatty acid profiles that the other 2 do not show. So to remind you, the Omegaquant Basic just shows you your omega-3 index. Your Omegaquant Plus shows you the omega-3 index, the omega-6 to the omega-3, the arachidonic to EPA, and your trans fatty acid ratio. In the complex, it obviously takes those tests and continues to look a little bit deeper at the entire profile of your fatty acids in your blood. They admit themselves that this is a brand new science, and the 2 markers that you really have certainty over in terms of changing your diet up is in the omega-3 index, which is in the basic test, and also the trans index, which is in the plus test. So those are the 2 markers that you can actually have a major impact by increasing your omega-3 foods. And we've talked about that before in terms of the omega-3s, fish oils, krill oils, algae, and even freshwater fishes where you're getting salmon and tuna and cod and herring. A lot of oily based fish are going to increase your omega-3s. Now in the Omegaquant Complex test, what separates it from the other 2 is they have over 24 omega fatty acid results, and they're looking at unsaturated fatty acids. They're also looking at saturated fatty acids, and it's still up for research, and it's important to look at some of these ratios. Now, I don't order this test too often, but I will say that if you've ever had a genetic test interpretation, we call that a nutrigenomic test, and I'll have videos on exactly why I look at the nutrigenomic test along with the Omegaquant, especially the complex test, because if you're dealing with oxidative stress, inflammation, you feel like you're rapidly aging, or you're looking to stop your biological clock so that you can slow it down and reverse aging, and you have some genetic susceptibilities, you're going to want to look at the ratios of those fatty acids that are still up for debate to determine what your course of action will be. It's not going to be very different than taking more healthy omega-3s, making sure you're getting your linoleic acids, and making sure you're avoiding any hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated fried foods or foods that are with unhealthy fats in there. But when you're looking at helping your omega fatty acid pathways, there's called SPMs, or specific pro-resolving mediators, that can be very, very helpful when you're inflamed. And I had a patient the other day that told me she did really well on a COX-2 inhibitor. They don't allow that anymore, but that gave me a lot of insight as to why that might be helpful when I look at her Omegaquant Complex test and I look at her nutrigenomics results to be able to determine what specific courses of action I may want to take. We think of palm oils, we think of palmitic acid, but the thing that's really interesting is studies have showed that it's not necessarily increased by increasing your palm oil intake. The way that palmitic acid is increased is by actually through carbohydrate intake. Because what happens is when you take excess carbohydrates, those carbons are going to be made into endogenous lipogenesis, or another way of saying fat production in your body. And palmitic is one of the ways that your body converts that extra carbohydrates into, and that can create fatty liver, that can create adipose tissue, that can create high triglycerides. So it's really important to be aware of your carbohydrate intake when you're looking to reverse your age. My overall opinion of this particular test is you don't need to necessarily do it, especially if you're not working with a healthcare provider that knows the intricacies of these extra omega-3s, omega-6s, and the whole complex markers of the over 24 markers that it measures. It's $99, so it's $20 more than the other test. And my feeling is that you can really get all the information you need in the Omegaquant Plus test. So why we do a genetic test and what are the genetic markers that we look at? There are specific genes that we look at that really give us insight into how well your body is processing these fats and how well your body is able to use those fatty acids, not only for inflammation control, but how well they're able to use those fatty acids for making cholesterol, making bile, supporting your nerve function. So if you're getting any value out of this video, make sure you go ahead and you like this video, you turn on your notifications, and make sure you subscribe so you can get other information like we did today. And I want to know, have you ever done an Omegaquant test? Are you looking to do an Omegaquant test? Because if you are, we have a link in the description below with a discount code so you could order that test to yourself. And make sure you check out the link in the next video that we explain exactly why we do the nutrigenomic test and why it's such a wonderful test to be able to determine the biomarkers of aging, and so that when you look at the Omegaquant test with your nutrigenomic test, you're really getting a lot of insight that doctors don't know how to put these puzzle pieces together. So I'll see you on the next one.